Hello, members of We Connect Malta. I am Corinne Cilia, psychotherapist, and today I will be sharing with you some ideas and tips how we can help others deal with bereavement or how we can actually help ourselves when we are going through this process ourselves. The first part will be in English and the second part will be in Maltese. So the advice I will be giving you today comes from experience with my own clients, my own experience, as well as research I have done on the subject. Grief is not an easy process to deal with. It is a very difficult process. So the first thing that we need to accept is that grief is not something that can be done over 1 or 2 days. It takes a lot of time and it takes a lot of pain. And yes, sometimes and in most cases, it gets worse before it can get better. So, to help you understand how we can support others through the grieving process, I'm going to explain what actually the grieving process is, and then I'm going to give you some tips on how we can help others through this process. So, what is the process that one goes through when we lose or somebody loses someone that they love? It could be a sudden loss, it could be through an illness, or it could be the loss of a friend, of a close friend of ours. So what is the process? The process is actually, in the beginning, it's like a surreal feeling. It's like a dream. You can't believe that it happened. So in the first few days and in the first few hours, actually, okay, as soon as the person dies or passes away, okay, there are the funeral arrangements that need to be done. So the mind is occupied with logistical matters. After that, the funeral or the celebration of life. After that comes the void of when everything passes. So the person has been buried or cremated, and then there is this huge void left, often with the question, so what happens now? What do we do now? And that is the most difficult thing in the grieving process. Let me tell you a bit about what the person who was going through the process feels. So, the person who is grieving is most likely feeling lonely, angry, frustrated, might probably be feeling in denial, angry at the world. Why have I said angry at the world? Because if it's a sudden loss and it was not unexpected, this person might actually be asking, why is it happening to me? Why, of all people around the world, is it happening to me? What have I done wrong? So this person is actually inflicting guilt feelings or, how shall I say, like punishing themselves for what has happened. Obviously, this person usually has nothing to do with what has happened, but it's usually also one of the way our body reacts when we lose someone. Okay, so this person might also be feeling scared. They might also be feeling that they are going to be left alone, and they might also be feeling that the world has come to an end. So, what do we tell these people who are going through the bereavement process? Usually, I try to avoid words that can actually hurt these people. So be very careful about not using the following words. Move on. Let go. Sometimes we use the words, they're in heaven, they're an angel. Be aware that sometimes these people who've lost someone very close, they prefer if that person is still on earth, creating havoc and not an angel in the sky. Okay, so be careful when we use those words. In most instances, these words are used because we don't know what else we have to say. And usually we think when we say these words that we are actually helping or perhaps motivating the person or stimulating the person to try from remaining stuck. but we have to be very careful that we do not hurt the person concerned, because sometimes, from experience with my clients, when we use these words, the words that these people feel, the feelings that these people feel is actually like something being broken inside of them. So be very careful. Even I used to feel these words, but when I started having sessions with my clients, I realized that these sometimes are words that should be avoided. So what can we do instead of perhaps talking too much? Sometimes the simplest things are the best things that can be done. I'm going to say something which is obvious, but sometimes not so obvious. Hugs. When we hug a person, there is that physical connection with the other person. Sometimes all that is needed is a simple hug. Hugging a person for 30 seconds can release those good feel endorphins, those good feel hormones in our bodies, which make us feel better, and actually they help us even start thinking better. So sometimes no words are needed. We just hug the person, we just hold their hands, we just make them feel that we're there for them and present, and sometimes the less we use words, the much better this person sometimes feels. Sometimes we need to let them talk. They cry, they express their feelings, and we let them do the talking because they need to find ways to express their guilt, their hurt, their pain. And that's why we're there for them. Another very important thing that I think will eventually come at a later stage is anticipation of what might be needed. So, especially if we're supporting someone who is going through bereavement, we might have to think before what they might need. For example, we might help our friends with getting them food. We might help them, for example, in the morning by doing some errands for them. We might help them by calling and saying good morning, or hi, how are you, or how can I help you? Shall I go and buy some things from the shop for you? Okay. Sometimes we have to anticipate what their needs might be. Sometimes we won't know what their needs are. We just sit and we let them tell us what their needs are. So, as I was telling you, we have to be very sensitive with the people who are going through the grieving process. We cannot rush them. We cannot expect them to just let go, okay? So sometimes the best things that we can do is we even help them to talk about the other person, about journeys done, celebrating their life, because sometimes that is what they need, because people undergoing grief sometimes are afraid that the people that they've lost will be forgotten, that their life will have been in vain, and all vanishes in thin air. So sometimes this assurance that their life will still be celebrated is what these people need in order to help them with the grieving process. Remember, when we lose love, we can only help ourselves through the grieving process by through love itself, either through support from others, by trying to talk with others, as well as appreciating that the ones we've lost, the love that we've had for them, we will carry with us in our hearts forever. So a very important thing, and I want to conclude now about this, okay, is that we don't tell people undergoing the grieving process to move on. We support them by letting them know that they can move forward with the pain that they are feeling. It's different to just tell somebody move on and forget, because forgetting for them is really an insult. It's like you're telling them that person never existed. So the way forward to support our own selves, if we are going through the process or supporting others, is keeping in mind that we move forward with the person we have lost and with the grief itself, but we move forward. Never forget the person concerned. So those were a few tips of how we can help somebody who is grieving. Obviously, everybody grieves differently. Everybody reacts differently. Each loss is different, so each case is different. Okay, so it's very important that if a person cannot deal with a loss by himself or herself, she needs to be brave enough to seek support. The same when we are supporting somebody and maybe we feel at a loss that we're not supporting them enough. It's okay to reach out. It's okay to find support. It's okay to find love and support through the love that we've lost. Mela, ħan neqleb issa bil-Malti. Mela, meta titlef il xi ħadd mhijiex xi ħaġa faċli. Okay? Huwa proċess ta' uġieħ, huwa proċess li jrid il-ħin. Mela jiena l-għan tiegħi, okay, bħala psikoterapista huwa li nipprova nfehmkom daqsxejn iktar il-persuna li tkun tilfet il xi ħadd jew forsi anke aħna nkunu tlifna l xi ħadd minn xiex ngħaddu biex bekk inkunu nistgħu nifhmu aħjar x'nistgħu nagħmlu biex aħna nkunu ta' support lil ħadd ieħor u lilna infusna. Mela, meta nitilfu l xi ħadd jew xi ħadd jitlef il xi ħadd, ikun hemm ħafna emozzjonijiet. Ikun hemm emozzjonijiet ta' rabja, frustrazzjoni, kultant ma nifmux jew ma jifmux għalfejn ġrat din il-ħaġa, għalfejn ġrat lilhom. U jkun hemm ħafna uġieħ. Kważi fil-bidu tkun qisha ħolma, laqas jistgħu jemmnu jew ma nistgħux nemmnu li ġrat. Kważi ngħaddu mill-proċess tal-funeral jew tas-celebration of life, qisu kważi qed imorru għax-xogħol narġgħu nilbsu, etc. Imma once li għaddi ta' kollox, dan kollu, u mbagħad jiġi l-vojt. Il-vojt issa se nagħmel minn issa il quddiem. Se nagħmel ħajjintesa dal-persuna li tant kont inħobb jiena din il-persuna. Kif nista' nissapportja issa li l-persuna indifen jew ġie ikkremat. Mela, ħafna minna kultant minħabba li forsi ma nkunux nafu eżatt x'irridu ngħidulhom il daw in-nies, okay? Mhux għal tal-apposta ġieli ngħidulhom forsi kliem mhux l-iktar li huwa adattat f'dan iċ-ċirkustanzi. Mela, pereżempju ngħidulhom move on, isa, issib doħroġ ftit, ħadd nessi, ibda relaxja ftit, let go daqsxejn, u m'intix waħdek u tinsix iż-żmien inessi. Tinsix, daw in-nies li jkunu tilfu lil xi ħadd, anke aħna meta nitilfu l xi ħadd, ma jkunux iridu jinsow il dak il-persuna li tkun mietet, okay? Anzi, huma l-inkwiet tagħhom kważi jkun dak li din il-persuna li tant kienet għal qalbhom li ħadd intesa li dak kollu li sar f'ħajjithom ħajjiġi minsi. Allura ġieli li nistgħu nagħmlu aħna, orajt li dawn in-nies meta nkunu magħhom inħeġġuhom li jitkellmu fuq din il-persuna. Fejn dan il-persuna li tilfu, persuna li kienu jħobbu, jarġgħu jsibu s-support through l-imħabba. Okay? Billi aħna niċċelebraw il-ħajja ta' dik il-persuna. Ħaġa oħra importanti li nistgħu nagħmlu u kultant ma tiswa xejn u tiġi b'xejn hija lil dak li jkun nanquh. Kontu tafu li jekk tanqu persuna għal 30 sekonda, dak huwa l-ħin li hemm bżonn biex inti ġismek jirrilisja jkun jista' jipproduċi dak li ngħidulhom endorphins, hormones għal tal-apposta biex jgħinuk tħossok aħjar. Tan-nieqa tagħmel ħafna ġid li żżomm id xi ħadd, li tanqu, li żżommilhom idejhom, li tkun bil-qiegħda ħdejhom. Il-preżenza tagħna kultant kulma hija dik il-ħaġa li din il-persuna jkollha bżonn. Kultant inqas kliem huwa iktar importanti f'dawn iċ-ċirkustanzi fejn il-persuna kważi tibda titkellem u aħna nisimgħu, okay? U mbagħad nissapportjaw kif l-aħjar li nistgħu. It-tieni ħaġa li nistgħu nagħmlu hija nantiċipaw din il-persuna bżonnijiet jista' jkollha. Mela, jekk taf li din il-persuna tissibha diffiċli biex forsi tmur tixtri xi affarijiet, aħna nistgħu nkunu ta' għajnuna lihom billi aħna mmorru nixtrulhom. Forsi telefonata filgħodu kif inti nista' niġi narak fl-erba' biex dawn il-persuni ma jħossuhomx waħedhom. Ovvjament, kull telfa hija differenti, kull każ hu għalih, kull persuna jirreaġixxi differenti. Għalhekk aħna rridu nirreaġixxu differenti għal każ li jkollna qudiemu. Mela, il-persuni huma differenti, mela jiena ma nistax nuża l-istess kelma ma' kulħadd, però li nista' nagħmel huwa li nkun sensittiva jew sensittiv f'kull każ li jiena li jkolli qudiemi bħal dan, ġifieri meta jkolli ħbieb tagħna jew raba minn tagħna jitilfu xi ħadd li jħobbu. Mela, tinsewx meta aħna nitilfu l xi ħadd, aħna l-inkwiet tagħna huwa li dak il-persuna ħajjintesa'. Mela aħna dak il-persuna ngħinuh biex dan ma jiġrix. U l-preżenza tagħna fejn dak li jkun għaddej minn dan il-proċess ta' uġieħ, aħna il-preżenza tagħna tiswa ħafna. Mela, dawn kienu ftit tips li jiena tajtkom mill-esperjenza tiegħi kif nistgħu ngħinu lil xi ħadd li huwa miġuħ bit-telfa ta' xi ħadd. Ovvjament kif ġiġa spjegajtilkom kull każ hu għalih, mela u jekk taraw li inti jew il-persuna li qed tissapportja m'għandkomx biżżejjed support, tiddejqu xejn titolbu għall-għajnuna. Alright, jiena di biss nixtieq ngħidilkom, meta aħna jkollna xi ħaġa maħniex qed naraw tajjeb, jew maħniex qed nisimgħu tajjeb, jew ikollna forsi żaqna tuġana, jew x'imkien ieħor qed juġana, aħna mmorru għand it-tabib biex aħna naraw x'nistgħu nieħdu mediċina jew għall-parir. Però ħaġa tal-iskantament, meta aħna jkollna xi issues jew xi problemi li jikkonċernaw il-moħħ inħossuha iktar diffiċli biex insaqsu għall-għajnuna. Mela telfa u xi ħaġa oħra tiddejqux issaqsu għall-għajnuna. Għalhekk jeżistu n-nies, għalhekk teżisti l-imħabba, għalhekk teżisti il-connection ta' bejn il-bniedem uman biex inkunu nistgħu ngħinu lil xulxin fl-iktar mumenti diffiċli. Grazzi tal-li smajtuni u nispera li dan il-ftit mumenti li kellna flimkien kienu ta' għajnuna għalikom biex kunu tistgħu tgħinu l xi ħadd madwarkom jew lilkom infuskom meta titilfu lil xi ħadd. Grazzi lilkom.